I'm Kelly Collison, and I serve as the Executive Director of Magnified Giving. We are proud to present, in association with KPG Creative, the documentary film, Roger Grein, an Empowering Philanthropist. We all know and love Roger as a kind, generous, and loving man who knows no stranger and has time and prayers for everyone he meets. This documentary tells his story, a truly amazing and inspiring story. We would like to thank everyone listed in the credits who participated in the making of this film. Your perspectives and memories are incredible. Through Magnified Giving, Roger's story will be in classrooms for years to come to ensure his legacy will be shared and modeled for the next generation of philanthropists. This is Roger's mission and vision. This is his story.
Roger Grein represents, in my view, the very best of this community. The very best of this community in terms of his commitment to reach beyond himself on behalf of generations that he'll never meet and generations still unborn who will benefit from the legacy that he's creating.
Roger Grein, a truly amazing person. His life has been one of hard work and struggle, of service and giving back, and of empowering others to do more. This small town boy who struggled to walk and talk became a wealthy businessman and gave his fortune away every year to those in need. His vision for philanthropy empowers thousands of young people through Magnified Giving, where they learn the value of giving of their time, talent, and treasure to help others in need. This is his story. Roger Grein was born in Cincinnati, Ohio in 1942 to a young, unwed mother who considered abortion before changing her mind and placing him up for adoption. At 6 months of age, he was adopted by Frank and Thelma Grein.
Thelma always wanted a child.
She waited 8 years.
And she could never have one.
8 years.
Then when she found out that he was adoptable, so she went to St. Joseph's.
I remember them telling me later on in my life that they were so excited that they stayed up all night to look at my pretty blue eyes.
Frank was fighting in World War II when Thelma learned Roger had a disability caused by a birth injury, what we now know as cerebral palsy. The doctors told Thelma that her son was unlikely to ever walk or talk.
He started walking funny, and his speech was a little bit slurred and that. So all his neighbors and family said, take him back, he's like damaged goods. And she said, never, I will not.
Refusing to give in to the doctor's bleak diagnosis, Thelma became her son's biggest champion and functioned as his physical therapist.
She used to walk me heel-toe when I was a baby. I remember that, heel-toe. She would rub my feet, massage my feet.
Roger grew up in Lockland, Ohio, a small town surrounded by the big city of Cincinnati. He was an industrious child, and Thelma did everything in her power to make sure that he had a normal childhood. She signed him up for sports and other activities such as tap dancing and accordion lessons. He was always busy, always finding ways to earn money, and never let anything hold him back.
When I was 4 or 5 years old, I was picking up pop bottles and the beer bottles in the neighborhood. Back then, you got 2 cents for a pop bottle and a nickel for a beer bottle. And then I used that money to buy a wagon. And I would collect the newspapers. So I cut 20, 30, 40 yards a week, regularly shovel snow, and so I was known as a moor boy.
In 7th grade, Roger tried out for every sports team at his school. He would often trip and fall and wasn't chosen for any team.
He really didn't understand why he didn't make the team because he knew he was taller than anyone else. But he did get cut. And the teacher, Mr. Beekner, did a really neat thing. He knew Roger's interest in sports, and he convinced Roger that he could help out by being a quote manager.
So I remember I was in the junior high school, basketball, football, baseball, track and field, tennis. I was all the managers of all the sports. And so I felt loved and part of it now.
Though Roger never got to swing a bat or shoot a basket, his years as the water boy developed a strong work ethic, and he continued to cut grass, rake leaves, and shovel snow, while doing his best to grow up to be just like the other kids.
When I went to get my driver's license, I went to the top neurologist in Cincinnati. He was sitting in a chair just like this, and I was sitting right there with Mom. And he said to me and Mom, he said, your son Roger, his mind is like a light bulb, and it's got all these wires going into it. And it may short before somebody else's. And I don't want him to ever drive a car in his life. And I was 16 when he said that. And we walked out of the office, and Mother pulled out her purse and handed me the keys and said, to hell with him. And so I've been driving for 50-something years. So that's a mother's love for, your mother knows what you could do. Your mother doesn't want to limit you. She wants a mainstream. She wants the best for her baby.
Thelma instilled in Roger a can-do attitude about life, hard work, and making it on his own. He began investing his mower boy earnings in local stocks, quietly building his wealth.
I was in high school and I thought to myself, what do people do with money? And I said, I bet you they invest in stocks and bonds. I invested in local companies where I knew something about. Look at that. I bought more stocks. Look at that, I was making money. 3,000, 1966, Honeywell, 7,000. Look at that. 100 shares in May department store, 5,000.
He graduated from the University of Cincinnati in 3 years with a degree in finance, and then went on to earn his MBA at night school.
And then the real world opened up to me. The real world back then, boy, if you're 21, 22 years old, nobody's going to listen to you. And I couldn't find a job. So it was hard. All your people that you graduated from college had jobs. And so the local banker, Harold Carson, got me an interview at back then it was the First National Bank on 4th and Walnut Street downtown. And I got a job down there. They put me in the trust department doing tax returns. And so I worked there for a whole year. And then after a year, they evaluate you. How you doing, Roger? How you doing? And you know what? They fired me. They said your writing wasn't that good and you probably wouldn't move up in the organization.
He was visibly upset. He didn't know really where he was going to go, what he was going to do, Felt like, well, can he hold any job? And I said, of course, you'll be fine. It happens to everyone, and you learn from that. And so I told him, I said, honestly, Roger, sooner or later, you're going to be in your own business. You're going to be the boss. And I said, and I'm quite sure that you'll treat people a lot better than you've been treated.
Determined to make the best of a tough situation, Roger set out to reestablish his old relationships. He offered his mower boy clients his new accounting services income tax return preparation. He completed 25 returns that first year with his mother's help, typing each one in their basement office. By the third year, he completed 345 returns. And in 1970, he opened his own tax and accounting business and went on to become the tax commissioner for 3 local municipalities.
I was walking down the hallway in the Reds office. Ray Shore, who was the Reds' #1 major league scout at that time, he was walking down the hallway, and I said, Ray, do you know anybody who can help me with my taxes? And he said, call Roger Grein in Reading. Sat down at his desk that night, and he helped me with my taxes. That night I learned 3 things about Roger. First, I learned that he was very intelligent and very capable tax guy. The second thing I learned was that he was genuinely a very nice guy, good guy. And the third thing I learned is that he loved the Cincinnati Reds. We ended up talking baseball for a long time that night.
It was really the friendship. I did need his help, though, for the consulting and my taxes and everything, but it was just the friendship and hearing about other people that he was with. Yeah, so he is still doing my taxes, and I'm very thankful for that.
What I'm so proud of, as far as he's concerned, that he's paid it forward. I mean, you know, the breaks that, what little breaks I gave him and other people that gave him breaks, he's passed that forward many, many times. And that's what makes it so nice.
One door closes, another one opens. So, you know, and I think that's probably the work ethic that God instilled in me, my parents instilled in me. Never give up, come hell or high water. You know, I overcome obstacles. Nobody was going to stop me. So, you know, I guess that's going back to doing your best of your ability and letting the rest up to God.
Owning his own business set up the opportunity for another amazing chapter in his life. A 36-year coaching career, leading girls softball teams to world championships and travels around the globe.
One evening I was watching our church team play softball. It was St. James of Wyoming. It was a girls' high school slow pitch. And the team was so poor that after one of the game, the coach quit. And one of the girls came up to me, Ian Lichtenberg, the shortstop, and asked me if I wanted to help out. And I said, sure. So I became the real coach and the real manager. And I loved it. And that was June of '64. I can remember that like today over in Grove-Field in Wyoming.
He did it out of his love for the youth. He just wanted to do something. They kept growing and getting better and better and better.
There's a car dealership in town called Sweeney Chevrolet. And Jake Sweeney was the owner of Sweeney Chevrolet. And his daughter, Mary, played on the team, played first base. So the next year, 1971, I kept the players together and we became known as Sweeney. And he helped sponsor the team.
So I remember coming to practice, you know, for this big tryout. You read it in the newspaper. And you heard about this great, you know, Sweeney team. We walk up and you wasn't sure who we were going to meet. And you meet this guy and you're thinking, ooh, he played softball, he's the coach, you know, because, you know, with his limp and everything, you didn't know. It wasn't really the tryout I was expecting. It was more like, okay, this is fun. This is a little different, you know, because it was calming, you know, and just went out and just did your thing. And
Roger is that type of guy that, you know, his worst thing would be he has to cut people. You know, I think that's his most agonizing position in a select sport is you have to cut people. And he doesn't like to hurt anybody or anything like that. But when you do make the team, he legitimately thinks of you as his child.
The love, the unconditional love that it seemed like he had for the children. He just was very enthusiastic, and boy, what a manager, and what a guy to take care of all the details of all the rooms across the country, the buses, the airplanes, and making out the lineup and all that stuff. Is just a wonderful person, wonderful person.
With this little team that we started as a church team, developed in the national championship team, we would travel, we would play all the world. We played in Russia, we played in Hawaii, we played in Mexico, and we would play 2 or 3 nights a week in the leagues here at home. On weekends, we would play in tournaments. We usually play in the 12 to 13 tournaments a summer.
And we've been all over the country. By the time I was 16, I've been to the West Coast, to Seattle. We went to Boston, we went to Florida, we've been all over. And those are opportunities we wouldn't have got or had without softball.
And we traveled all over the country, and there was always a Catholic church nearby, and we always went as a team. And maybe that was some of the beginning of seeing Roger's spirituality, because he lived it. He lived his faith, and therefore he was a tremendous example to the team. So you didn't hear any arguing with umpires. You didn't. He was never a crossword with with Chris or her teammates. Always encouraging, and just the type of person that you would really want. Coaching your daughter.
From the beginning, with the fundamentals that I got from Sweeney and all the hard work, and actually with Roger's letters, that helped me get my scholarship at Miami.
you know. So I mean, there's a lot of doors open up for a lot of us through, you know, Roger and what he gave us.
In 1978, I heard that Northern Kentucky was the first university in this area to offer softball at the collegiate level. And when I saw that in the paper, I was so happy. Because in my mind, I got high school kids. And now they can go to college and get a scholarship and play softball. So I called the coach, Jane Meyer, the first day that I saw that in the paper.
He called me one day and said, I want to donate $10,000 to the women's softball program. Imagine in 1978 getting a call that somebody wants to donate $10,000 to your program. From that point on, he donated regularly and then also came to some of our games. And the reason he donated that money was to provide opportunities for his players that he was coaching that were moving on in their life into college softball. He told me one day why he got involved. He did it because he saw them, the girls, as being underserved and that they needed to have the same opportunities that the boys had, and he wanted to make sure the girls had those same opportunities. And that's the way Roger is, because he is a giver and he wants others to be successful and have opportunities.
To me, sports is life. 1 minute you're the hero, you hit the home run in the last inning. Next time you strike out, the end of the game with bases loaded, like you could have tied the game. So if you could manage and cope with both being a hero and a bum, I think that makes you more prepared to life's journey.
Roger's business and reputation grew throughout the years. The boy whose mother was told he would never walk or talk had quietly become a millionaire many times over. Guided by his faith, Roger chose to lead a simple life and to help others at every opportunity. He attended daily Mass, and his faith in prayer guided his decisions. He gave away his money anonymously every year to those in need and never asked for anything in return.
All my life, I've had a tendency to be aware of the needs of other people. And so as my investments increased over the years, I was able to help more other causes out. So I got a big kick out of helping. And I did everything unanimously. In other words, for about 20 or 30 years, I would just go over to my church and put the money into their accounts and maybe write 200 checks every December, and nobody ever knew where it was coming from because it came from the church. So I didn't do it to glorify me or to make me a hero, but I could remember a couple of things. The shoe store, the last day, the shoes that he didn't sell, I went in and bought the whole shoe store. And I knew the Glen Mary missionaries, they did work in the Appalachians, so they got a big truck, came to his place and got all the shoes. I remember another day, on a Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, I saw in the Inquirer that a store in Mount Healthy, a toy store, was going out of business. And this was the last day, and it was like 2 days before Christmas. Well, I went up here and bought all the toys in the store and gave them to a toy drive here in town, but nobody knew that. I mean, but that was who Roger was.
So I stayed in contact with Roger for actually through my whole coaching career, and then I became the athletic director. And there was an opportunity where the state would match a donation. Roger ended up donating over $340,000 to that was matched by the state. So it ended up being over a $700,000 gift to the women's softball program for scholarships. He also gave a significant donation to name the field after his dad. And then a little bit later, he ended up donating to the university in honor of his mom. And that scholarship was set up to provide opportunities for students who had mental or physical challenges or had a disability.
By the early 2000s, Roger Grein was worth over $7 million and was giving substantially to charities every year. He funded many groups through his local church. He gave back to orphanages in Mexico. He funded several Habitat for Humanity homes and donated his childhood home in Lockland, where he had lived for 75 years, to the Habitat for Humanity cause. But he wanted to do more, to give back to the community that had supported him. And one day, over lunch with a friend, this vision for the next chapter in his life became clear.
About a year or two before I met Roger, I met Neil Mayerson, who at that time was leading the Mayerson Foundation. And Neil has similar interests. Neil and I began talking about whether we might create a program called a Student Philanthropy Project that would convene students as nonprofit boards for the purpose of investing in their community. Neil got very excited about that and said, let's give it a try. Well, in describing this to Roger, he just got terribly excited about it because it built on what is fundamental to Roger: his generosity, his sense of purpose, his commitment to others, his persistence, his understanding of what makes a community special. And so he began to think about, how could I take this idea and expand it beyond NKU to other universities? And of course, he just took this idea and put it on steroids.
Well, I walked away with that, and whew, what a great idea. Because every year, December, I struggle every year, not whether to help out, but who to help. Do you help the people here over the line that's hungry, or do you go to Africa or the poor people around the world? You know, do you educate the youth, or do you give to the poor? So I struggle every year, not whether to write the check, but who to give it to. And I thought to myself, boy, if I could get the young people involved, boy, maybe there'll be someday a little Roger out there. Wouldn't it be a neat thing to do? And I thought, well, boy, they could give back the time, talents, and treasures if they involved with something like that and have to go through the same disciplines that I have to do every year as far as who to give to.
From that fateful lunch, the seed had been planted, and Roger Grein set out on his greatest adventure, sharing his vision of philanthropy, giving of your time, talent, and treasure with anyone who would listen. He met with Father Graham, the president of Xavier University in Cincinnati, Ohio, and he agreed to start a program at the university.
So I went to the first award ceremonies at Xavier, because at the end of the class, you have award ceremonies. And when I heard the witness of the kids, the teachers and the instructors, whew, this thing works. Instead of being a wild idea, this thing works. It touches the heart of the kids. It touches the instructors. It touches the people of the charities. Hey, the people still get the money. Look, your gift is magnified. So we're calling it magnified giving now. Magnified giving, because it touches so many layers of society.
Over the next few years, Roger expanded the program to 16 colleges in Ohio, all supported by his growing investments and love of giving back.
So everything is going great. I'm the king of the world. Isn't Roger's great? I could write all these checks at the end of the year. I could help the program. I could help these kids out. Isn't Roger doing somersaults? Isn't he jumping up and down? Isn't he the greatest person since sliced bread? You know, isn't that wonderful? And then you know what happened? Roger wasn't diversified. Roger was in the banking industry. And then when the banks went sour, Roger went south too.
Though he had amassed a large fortune, Roger was highly leveraged with his investments. And in the Great Recession of 2008, he lost nearly everything. His investments in bank stocks became worthless overnight.
He came to Christmas on 2008 after the market went down. I said, Roger, people are jumping out of windows. They lost $5 million. He said, Tom, I lost more than that. I mean, think about that.
Boy, what do? You promised 16 colleges that you could support them. So I went to every college and made an appointment with the president and apologized to him. Because I didn't want, I mean, this was my love, this was my passion. I didn't want them to get a Dear John letter.
But you know, you can always tell a person best when they have hard times. In 2008 and 9, he had 5 losses in that 12-month period. Not just financial, other items in his life. 5 things he lost in a 12-month period. And I watched that man up every day, get out of bed, go to church, say his rosary, go to mass, go to work. Amazing.
Never one to give up, even in the toughest circumstances, Roger charged ahead. He founded a nonprofit named Magnified Giving to educate and engage the next generation of philanthropists, and asked everyone he knew to donate to the cause. Generous individual donors and foundations took up the challenge so that Roger's vision could continue.
The first time I met Roger, it was actually at the awards banquet, and I had the opportunity to sit at the table with him and start talking a little bit about the program, kind of in between the portions of the event. And the thing that really struck me when I was sitting there talking to them was just, his love for people in general. I mean, it just his passion for people and students in particular. I mean, it was contagious, and I thought, boy, this is the kind of thing that I'd like to be a part of.
Magnified Giving began partnering with local middle schools and high schools in the greater Cincinnati area to teach students about philanthropy. Students volunteer with qualifying organizations and are taught to evaluate the benefit of the organization to their community. They then grant Magnified Giving funds to the organization of their choice at a year-end ceremony. The impact has been dramatic.
It's amazing to see what philanthropy does to and through kids. It matures them. It absolutely matures them because it takes them outside of themselves, takes all of us outside of ourselves, and really allows us to see things from a different perspective and to appreciate that. And that's, like Wendy spoke to, that's what the world needs, you know? We need a little more of walking in each other's shoes a little bit.
Magnified Giving is really a critical piece in making sure that our community is strong and vibrant moving forward for generations. They're teaching students and young leaders how to step up, how to make their voices heard, how to make sure that they're making a difference, but in a way that is thinking beyond just their own day-to-day lives. It's making them think outside of the box and figure out ways that they can help to solve problems, maybe in different ways than we've considered before, but then they're becoming part of that solution.
Philanthropy is about more than money. It's about saying, I believe in you, I believe in this cause, and I am here to support you. To me, philanthropy is really about advocating for someone else and really uplifting and supporting a cause.
I would like to give back to my community here in America and also back home, Tanzania, and just with the success and opportunities America has given me and Magnifying Giving has given me, I feel like every child should be able to experience that.
I'm not in Magnified Giving for myself. I don't want to be a part of this just to put it on like a college resume. I want it to empower someone else. I want it to make a positive difference and empower somebody to do something that they weren't able to do before.
It's a remarkable story, in my view, and a textbook example of how a powerful idea combined with an advocate can take an idea and translate it into reality in so many different ways.
Students often cite Roger as their favorite part of Magnified Giving. His classroom visits and closing remarks at the end-of-year grant ceremonies inspire the students. One wrote, "I've learned that it doesn't always have to be money to give away, but most importantly, love." Roger Grein is a great example of that.
So I think the word philanthropy comes from brotherly love. So, I mean, that's important. It doesn't say brotherly checkbook, it says brotherly love. So I think we all, at any age, present, we're all philanthropists when we think of, in those terms, time, treasure, and brotherly love.
It's just not like giving them something and say, here you go, use it, do something. I'm actually helping them by volunteering instead of just donating or something like that.
I'm 25 and I'm a philanthropist. And I'm not a philanthropist because I have money. I'm a philanthropist because I have time. For anyone who's my age or in my age range, I think we all are looking for something to make a difference in the same way that these kids are looking for something to make a difference.
Children, I think they have a natural urge to help and give. And if you can empower that while they really feel it, I think it just makes it better for the future.
It makes me feel accomplished, happy, and really good, and I just love putting a smile on somebody's face.
So philanthropy to me is teaching the generations to be more open to the world and to help it create a better place.
We are growing emerging philanthropists through Magnified Giving.
We had one teacher last year share with us that this changed the way that she teaches. It's the reason why she gets out of bed and looks forward to going to school. And it's been the best thing that she's done in the past 12 years of her teaching.
If only Magnified Giving could measure all the lifelong philanthropists that have been born since Magnified Giving started, I think it would be knock your socks off.
It's about what you can do, what you can leave behind to leave this place better than when you found it.
As the organization continued to grow, it became imperative that a permanent headquarters be established. Through the generosity of Joyce Kupfer Mulderig, the Magnified Giving Center for Youth Philanthropy became reality in 2017.
Roger made a suggestion, and you could definitely tell the Holy Spirit was involved in this one because my mouth said yes before my brain said yes. He suggested that I give a pledge of $100,000 times 10 years to make $1 million. As a surprise, in January of 16, we took it to the board. They had no idea what was going on. They had no idea who I was. And we surprised the board with the suggestion of $1 million donation, and with that $1 million, this building would be purchased. Whatever we didn't need for the purchase would be put in an endowment, and that way the building would never be a strain on the organization. And I wanted to make sure that forever Magnified Giving would have a home. And being able to donate the money ensures the fact that the building itself will never be a drain on the organization, and therefore the monies that are given can be used for the students first and foremost, rather than the upkeep of a physical facility.
As Magnified Giving has grown, the impact on lives is undeniable. Students are awakened to the power of giving to others. Charitable organizations are enriched by the countless hours of volunteerism generated. And those in need feel the benefit of what Magnified Giving has done through expanded services, better resources, and a more generous community. What started with one woman believing in one young man has become so much more.
We're providing the tools and the input to the younger generation that they could take hold, that something could strike their heart, that they can now make a difference in their lives through our staff, through the teachers, through the senior charities, through volunteer, all these little ingredients, they all come together. And now, oh my, I could do something. I can make a difference. I could raise money. I can give my talent, treasure to other people. So that's where this providing the manure, the seeds, and letting them take the torch.
Roger's mission to make a difference in the lives of others continues with Magnified Giving. Now in its 12th year, the organization will grant its $1 millionth in 2020. Over 100 schools now follow the Magnified Giving curriculum, and more are joining the team each year. Roger's vision to teach young people to give of their time, talent, and treasure has taken hold and is changing lives.
When you ask someone to give you a gift of financial wear, it's a huge responsibility, and we're going to give it to kids. And kids are going to decide who to give it to make the best use of it. Our students don't know. They're wide-eyed and they're able and eager to serve, but what they don't know are what are all the causes, what are all the ills in our community, what can they do, and who can they serve. That's where Magnified Giving comes in. We're literally the curriculum that teaches kids how to be philanthropists.
So my dream is to reach out to other people. Other people embrace the mission. It's not Roger's anymore. I'm handing the keys over to the younger generation. I'm handing the keys over on empowering the young people so they can be little Rogers and give back. So that's the emphasis, is turn it over to other people so they believe in the mission, so they'll continue it when I'm not here someday.
Roger has successfully brought together 3 important sectors of the community: education, business, and charities, to serve all who are in need. And by empowering the next generation to do this at a younger age, he is planting the seeds for stronger communities in the future. This is Roger's legacy, and now the legacy of tens of thousands of young people, the next generation of philanthropists. Roger Grein, truly a man for others, a force for good, and an empowering philanthropist.